In today's video, a very sensitive subject here among us, frag heads. And this is a question I get asked about almost on a daily basis. Why do fragrances get discontinued and why do they get so pricey? If you guys want to know these answers to these questions and other answers related to discontinuations, stick around. The video's coming up next. Welcome back to another fragrance video. I'm Forti. Today we're tackling the subject of discontinuation. Why do fragrances become discontinued? So there's a three-part to this answer here. Let's tackle this by breaking it down into three categories. I think there are three main answers to this questions of why fragrances become discontinued. Number one, I think, is going to be sales. I think most companies, when analyzing their portfolio and their fragrance, offerings, if they're not performing, if they're not selling, they're going to look to discontinue that fragrance. Number two would be ingredient. If an ingredient becomes hard to find or too expensive, perhaps it's not cost effective for them to continue with that fragrance, most likely they'll look to discontinue that fragrance. And third and final here, which I think is a very feasible answer, is just simply revamping their portfolio. If they think their portfolio is fragrances are going to be a little bit aged or they've been around for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're looking to shuffle things around, perhaps bring new fragrance and new air into their collections, most likely they will axe certain fragrances. And of course, that's also tied in with the performance or sales. So those are the most, common questions to this discontinuation, question that I get asked about all the time. These are the most common answers, if you will. And of course, last but not least, why do they become so pricey? Why do fragrances become so expensive in the gray market, the secondary market? People, just hawk these fragrances and they come up with fragrances that were once very cheap. Case in point, Midnight in Paris, which I'll pop it up here from Van Cleef & Arpels, which a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, back in 2016, 17, and 18, you could find that fragrance for around $30 on average, and now it's fetching $150 to $200 on eBay or other secondary markets. So just to keep that as a, train of thought here, guys, if you see something you do like, and you hear it's going to become discontinued, jump on it because chances are it is going to be discontinued. Number two, you're going to have to cough up a pretty dough. You're going to have to fetch up a pretty penny to be able to acquire that fragrance in the near future. Now, with all of that out of the way, let me actually jump into my top 5 fragrances that have been recently discontinued or announced that they're going to be discontinued that I want to share with you guys in this video. If you do like this video and you want to see a part 2, be sure to leave it in the like. If this video hits 500 or more likes, I'll come back with a part 2 and perhaps even a part 3 of this video because I have a list of about 20 fragrances that have been recently discontinued or announced to be discontinued that are really worth you guys knowing about. So now let me jump right into the first choice here, which really shocked me when I heard about it, which is this fragrance right here from Montblanc. This is Individuel. Most people like to describe this fragrance as very similar to Original Santal from Creed, and I see the similarity here. It's very similar, very close to that fragrance. I think Original Santal has more sandalwood in the base. It becomes a little creamier. And this is perhaps a little bit more spicy. I get a very nice dose of cinnamon in here. Most people describe this as a raspberry / lemon kind of a vibe, clean sheets. I do get that here, but I also get some really nice creamy dark chocolate spicy nuance in the heart of this fragrance. This actually came out before Creed's Original Santal, so who's copying who here? This was released by Montblanc in 2003. The nose behind this one is Pierre Bourdon. And Original Santal was released by Creed in 2005. Again, who's copying who here? But needless to say, this is being axed. This is going to be officially phased out of their portfolio. So it's a cheapie now. Grab it while you can. It's still readily available, heavily available at discount websites. So I would suggest getting as many as you could if you do enjoy this fragrance. And I think one of the reasons why there's no replacement to this fragrance right now unless you go with Original Santal or even Joop, the original Joop Homme, which is very similar to that and actually came out in '89, which is a much heavier vanilla and spices. But it's kind of similar to this and perhaps it's a lot toned down because it has been reformulated. So that's an alternative to this fragrance, or just plainly get the Creed's version of this fragrance, Original Santal, which is quite nice but a lot more expensive. Which I think this is going to reach those prices once it becomes, 2-3 years down the line, once you can't really find this anywhere. The other fragrance here that I think is the reason why this fragrance is being discontinued, not that they smell alike, which is Montblanc Explorer, which was released last year. And this particular fragrance is actually pretty good, but it reminds people of Creed's Aventus. This is like an Aventus take with more bergamot, so it's a sweeter, fruitier version of Creed's Aventus. minus the birch. There's not much smoky going on here at all. This is mostly going to be a very nice aromatic, sweet, fruity type of a scent. A little bit musky at the dry down, but a fruitier version of Creed's Aventus minus that smoky birch that you get with Creed's Aventus. But that's a different conversation for a whole different video. Just saying, I think perhaps one of the reasons why Individual was axed is because of the success of Explorer. And perhaps, you know, the Individual is not as popular as we like to think here in the fragrance community outside of the fragrance community. But having said that, let's talk about another designer here that's been discontinued. That is one of my favorites for spring and early summer, or even throughout the summer. I love this stuff. Very similar to Creed's original Vetiver now. This is going to be Mugler Cologne. Now, Mugler Cologne is a very fresh and aromatic scent, very green, released in 2001 by Alberto Morillas. This fragrance actually is very good. It's going to be a creamy, green, musky, almost like soapy kind of a vibe that you get with this fragrance. And it reminds people of Creed's original Vetiver for a fraction of the cost. For a long time, this was very cheap. This is actually a 10-ounce bottle, which I think I paid a little less than 50 bucks for it. Now it's becoming harder to find because it has been discontinued. The main reason why I think Mugler Cologne is being axed or discontinued from the Mugler collection is because of their, a couple years ago now, a year or two ago, they released a Mugler collection, of Cologne collection that is, which has about 7 or 8 different fragrances. I'll show you guys here on the transition. And there's a fragrance in that collection called Come Together, which is also made by Alberto Morillas, which is very similar to this fragrance here. Very green, very musky, very aromatic, minus the vetiver note, but it's actually very, very similar to this. Hence the fact that this is being axed. Now, if you do love this, I'm going to tell you right now, Come Together is nice, but does not perform as good as this one. So if you do enjoy this, guys, get it while you can. It's still available today. I was able to get myself a backup bottle of this, and I urge you, sincerely urge you to get this. If you love this, get it before the prices skyrocket, because they will. Now, speaking of skyrocket prices, I'm going to tell you guys about a fragrance right now from Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male. This is Le Male Ultra Male from the Le Male collection, and has been recently talks that this is going to be axed and discontinued. So I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of the fragrances that I think out of all of these will probably fetch the biggest amount of money in the gray market, you know, eBay, Amazon, or whatever, even in the discount websites, and of course, throughout the Facebook groups, you know, the fragrance groups. I think even we try not to be as eye gouging within the fragrance community and the fragrance groups, but I've seen some really eye gouge happening, and this is going to be one of the fragrances that I'm going to tell you right now is going to be up there. But I'm going to give you a suggestion of a fragrance that I think is very similar to this. Perhaps you can look into it if you want. This is going to be Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultra Male, of course, released in 2015. This is an original formulation of this fragrance. I know it has been reformulated at least once. It's a lot weaker nowadays, but even so, it was a great scent. People enjoy it. It's very jovial, very youthful, very playful. This is going to be a sweet, spicy pear up top, with that original DNA, the lavender, the vanilla, the mint in the back, but mostly that spicy pear, which is really, really amazing and great for nightwear, for going out, if you like to go clubbing, if you like to go out dating, for romantic settings. This is one of those fragrances that will definitely fetch a lot of compliments. It also has a very nice patchouli ambery dry down, which makes it very, very sensual. So yes, this has been announced. It's going to be discontinued. Jean Paul Gaultier. This is actually Francis Kirsch release, guys, which is, you know, it's a good juice. But since Le Male, you know, came out with the newest Le Male de Parfum, which I really love this year, and also the year before, Le Beau, which has a little leaf, you know, covering the junk. So those two fragrances are probably like the fragrance that they're trying to really go forth with when it comes to the parfum department of this particular collection. And of course, the original is still here. But for some reason or other, they are axing Ultra Male, which I think it's a mistake. I think this is definitely one of the best ones they have, especially for the youthful market. I think Le Parfum is a little more mature. And Le Beau, even though it's a great one with that beautiful coconut note, it's actually very weak. This is actually the strongest of the two. Le Parfum is actually a pretty good performer, but not as bold, not as strong as this particular one, and not as youthful for sure. So I think it's a mistake unless they have plans of releasing something even better than this. You know, fingers crossed. We always, you know, are hopeful and can only wait for the future of this designer market. But this has been announced that it's going to be discontinued, Ultra Male. So if you guys love this, definitely get it. And the fragrance that I think has a similar vibe to this, it's also very costly, very pricey. You might not want to go that route. It's going to be Jeremy Fragrance's Date for Man. I have both of his fragrances, Date and Office, and I can attest to the fact that Date for Man is very similar to this with some minute changes and nuances. But if you want something that's as close to and really good in performance as well, check out Date Ferment, which I think is the closest fragrance we have in the market today to Eau Tremol, at this point at least. I'm sure we'll get other fragrances, especially with this being discontinued. A lot of the dupe houses, the fragrance brands out there that like to release, quote unquote copies, I'm sure we'll jump to the fact that this is going to be discontinued and emphasize and giving a little bit of those, market shares. But another conversation, big conversation for another big video. Next up here on this list is going to be a fragrance that probably got the most hype this year. People talking about this like nonstop in the groups and willing to pay big money. I've seen bottles of this stuff going for over $150 on the actual Facebook groups. And I'm talking about this one here from GUERLAIN. This is going to be L'Homme Idéal Cologne. Unfortunately discontinued, and they have the replacement for this fragrance, which was actually this one right here, L'Homme Idéal Cool, which a lot of people said to be underperforming and not as good as this one right here. And I have to agree, guys, I think Idéal Cologne was actually a pretty good fragrance. It had a really good spot here in my collection. It's very nice. It captures that little cherry vibe with the almond, the creamy almond that you get with the GUERLAIN Accord. It was very nicely done. It wasn't overbearing. You could wear this all year round. Even though it was with cologne, it actually performed pretty good. I got 8+ hours with this. And it is a shame to see this one here being axed. I think it definitely had a place in the collection. And it got people up in arms in the community, really upset with GUERLAIN for axing this fragrance. So it's one that you can still find out there today, and I would urge you, this is probably one of the ones that I think are going to also fetch a pretty penny along with Eau Tremol because it's GUERLAIN. It's a very collectible item. So in case that you can find this, grab it before it's too late, because I can see this is a smaller 50 ml, but I've already seen this fragrance reaching $125 to $150 in the groups. So get it while you can. And last but not least, this is actually my favorite fragrance from Tom Ford, current Tom Ford Private Blends collection. This is one that I was wearing the most, especially for the fall and for the winter, dressier occasions. And this is going to be, of course, Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud. Now, why in the hell are they discontinuing this fragrance? This is so good. It's going to be a spicy tobacco with that oud riding the composition. So bold, so boss, so CEO type of a fragrance. Absolutely a stunner of a fragrance. The reason why this is being discontinued is anyone's guess. I think, again, probably having to do with Tom Ford wanting to revamp his collection. I know for a fact that the whole Oud collection is being discontinued, including Oud Fleur, Oud Mineral, and of course Tobacco Oud. The only fragrance that's being capped is their #1 selling fragrance, which is going to be Oud Wood. So this is still available out there. I actually picked mine up at a discount website. So if you do enjoy this fragrance, if you do love it, guys, grab it now. It is pricey as it is because it's a Tom Ford Private Blend. Even at the discount websites, you're looking to pay a pretty penny. But once this becomes really hard to find within the next 6 months to a year or so, this is going to double, if not triple in price. You know how Tom Ford is. Also, Plum Japanese has been recently discontinued, and I've seen even the small bottle, the 50 ml, going for $200 to $300 in the groups. So guys, get these fragrances while you can. If you guys do enjoy the discontinued topic and you want to see more great discontinued fragrances, recently discontinued announced fragrances that you want me to share with you, like I said, I have a compiled list of about 25 fragrances. I can definitely come back with a part 2 and perhaps even a part 3. All I need from you guys is leave me a thumbs up in this video, leave me a like so I know you guys enjoy this content. If it reaches 500 or more, I'll come back with a part 2 and even a part 3 for you guys in the next few weeks to come. So thank you so much, guys, for hopping in, for hanging out with me here today and talking about discontinued fragrances. Also, in the comments, guys, let me know, why do you think fragrances get discontinued so often? And number 2, why do you think they get so pricey right away? As soon as we hear the word discontinued, it automatically becomes more desirable and people are willing to pay more money, for those fragrances. Let me know in the comments. And of course, let me know, in your opinion, what are your favorite top 5 or 10 discontinued fragrances that you guys would love to have in your collection that you can't find today. Again, go crazy in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. And of course, leave me the thumbs up so I can come back with a part 2 and even a part 3 for you guys. As always, remember, guys, I keep you in the know. If you guys appreciate what I do, always please show your support. Leave me a like, touch the subscriber button, hit the little bell icon for, future videos straight into your feed. I keep you guys in the know. That's what I do here. If you love fragrance, if you come for fragrance news, fragrance knowledge, I try to keep you guys informed as much as possible. As always, guys, remember, fragrance is an extension of who you are. It's an extension of your character. So be sure to choose your fragrance wisely and wear what truly moves you. I'll see you guys right back here with another video very soon. Take care.